Before he was a Jedi, before he became a Sith, before the name Darth Vader echoed across the stars, he was just a boy, a slave, a son. His name was Anakin Skywalker. This is the story of a man torn between destiny and desire. A hero prophesied to bring balance to the Force, who instead plunged it into darkness. A warrior hailed as a legend, who became a warning. But his fall wasn't just about betrayal, or power, or war. It was about love, loss, fear, and the impossible weight of being the chosen one. In this video, we're diving deep into the full journey of Anakin Skywalker, from his mysterious origins on Tatooine to his final, redemptive moments as the galaxy's most feared villain. We'll explore the hidden pain, the political manipulation, the forbidden love, and the ultimate sacrifice that defined one of the most complex characters in all of Star Wars. Whether you're a lifelong fan or just discovering the legend, welcome to the complete story of Anakin Skywalker. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another video. Disclaimer: there will be spoilers. Chapter 1. A Child of the Force. Before he became a Jedi Knight, before he fell to the dark side, and long before the galaxy trembled at the breath of Darth Vader, he was just a boy. A boy with no father, no last name, and no future. Anakin Skywalker, born of a slave, chosen by the Force. Our story begins in the Outer Rim, on a harsh desert planet scorched by twin suns, Tatooine. Anakin was born to a woman named Shmi Skywalker, a slave under the ownership of Watto, a Toydarian junk dealer. But the truly strange thing, Shmi claimed she conceived Anakin with no father. A virgin birth, immaculate and steeped in mystery. In the Jedi archives, legends tell of such a prophecy. The chosen one shall bring balance to the Force. Was it divine intervention, a will of the Force? Or was it, perhaps, the twisted experiment of a Sith Lord playing God with midichlorians? Darth Plagueis, or Sidious himself? Enter Qui-Gon Jinn, a Jedi Master walking a fine line between tradition and rebellion. With Obi-Wan Kenobi by his side, Qui-Gon discovered young Anakin while seeking repairs for Queen Amidala's ship. There was something different about this boy. He was unusually gifted, reflexes beyond human. A pilot at just 9 years old, a mechanic, a builder. But what sealed Qui-Gon's belief was a simple blood test. The readings are off the chart, Obi-Wan had said. Even Master Yoda doesn't have a midichlorian count that high. Over 20,000 midichlorians per cell. Anakin was quite literally bursting with the Force. And then, the race. The Boonta Eve Classic. Anakin, the only human who could pod race, climbed into a machine faster than most starfighters and soared to victory, winning not only the parts Qui-Gon needed, but his own freedom. But there was a price. Shmi would remain a slave. Anakin would leave everything he knew, his mother, his home, his innocence, to train as a Jedi on Coruscant. The Jedi Council, wary of attachments and emotions, was not thrilled. Yoda and Mace Windu sensed the fear in him, and fear, as we know, is the first step on a dark path. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. and hate leads to suffering. But Qui-Gon believed. He was convinced Anakin was the chosen one, meant to bring balance. When Qui-Gon was slain by Darth Maul on Naboo, Obi-Wan made a vow: train the boy as his dying wish. And so it began, the slow, irreversible unraveling of a destiny once thought blessed. Chapter 2: The Burden of the Chosen One. Years passed. Anakin Skywalker, once a frightened slave boy from Tatooine, had grown into a powerful Jedi Padawan. But though his skill with the Force surpassed all expectations, his heart remained unruly. He never truly fit in. The Jedi Temple trained its disciples to release attachment, to avoid passion, and to seek inner peace through detachment. But Anakin had never been raised with those ideals. His first memories were of his mother's love, of scraping by under the weight of slavery. He knew fear, loss, hunger, and he knew connection. These were things the other younglings didn't carry with them, but Anakin did, and it set him apart. Obi-Wan Kenobi, still adjusting to his own role as a mentor, struggled to bridge that gap. He trained Anakin with discipline, but also with compassion. Their relationship, sometimes brotherly, sometimes paternal, was full of conflict, but also trust. Still, the Jedi Council remained wary. Anakin was powerful, yes, brilliant even, but also impulsive, emotional, proud. He questioned orders, he pushed boundaries, he often acted from the heart, something the Jedi saw as a dangerous flaw. And somewhere in the shadows, Darth Sidious, still unknown as Chancellor Palpatine, watched the boy grow, knowing that his heart was the key to controlling him. Meanwhile, the galaxy was coming apart. A separatist movement, led by former Jedi Count Dooku, was drawing entire star systems away from the Republic. Fear and distrust spread through the Senate. War loomed on the horizon. But, in the midst of this political unraveling, Anakin found something that would change him forever. Again. Her name was Padmé Amidala. Padmé had known Anakin since he was a child. Brave, kind, full of questions. But years had passed. When they met again during an assassination attempt on her life, he was no longer that boy. He was a young man now, confident, strong, and clearly in love. Their relationship was complicated from the start. Padmé was a senator, dedicated to the Republic, composed and pragmatic. Anakin was reckless, idealistic, and intense. But their bond was magnetic. They laughed, shared memories of simpler times, and debated politics in candlelit rooms. But beneath the surface, deeper feelings stirred, ones they tried to ignore. Anakin admired Padmé not just for her beauty, but for her strength, her refusal to be intimidated by war, her compassion for others. Padmé, in turn, saw in Anakin a kind of honesty and fire that the Senate lacked. But the Jedi Code forbade attachment. Love was forbidden. And so, every step toward each other felt like betrayal. Still, their connection deepened. As the war grew imminent, Anakin began to have visions, dreams that felt more like warnings. They were of his mother, Shri. He saw her in pain, calling to him across the galaxy, begging for help, dying. He could no longer ignore them. With Padmé by his side, Anakin returned to Tatooine for the first time since his departure as a child. The world had changed little, but everything felt different. He reunited with Watto, the junk dealer who had once owned his mother. From him, he learned that Shmi had been sold to a moisture farmer named Clegg Lars, who had freed her and married her. It seemed, for a time, she had found peace. But the peace didn't last. Raiders, Tusken raiders, had taken her. The locals had given up hope, but Anakin hadn't. He tracked him across the desert, his heart pounding with dread. He found the camp just before nightfall. Inside one of the tents, his mother lay chained and broken, barely conscious. When she saw him, she smiled, a weak, fragile smile that carried every ounce of maternal pride. And then she died in his arms, whispering his name, telling him she loved him. Something in Anakin broke. The grief was instant, the pain unbearable. And then came the anger. Anakin didn't just kill the warriors. He slaughtered them all. Men, women, children. His hate swallowed everything. He became vengeance. When he returned to the Lost homestead, he was silent, unreachable. Later, he confessed what he'd done to Padme, not in boast, but in torment. I killed them all. They're dead, every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women and the children too. He expected her to recoil, to condemn him, but she didn't. She saw his pain and held him. And in that moment, Anakin realized something that would follow him the rest of his life. Love would forgive him for anything. And that love would always be worth more to him than the Jedi Code. Their union was sealed in secret, hidden from the Jedi, hidden from the Senate, but not hidden from the Force. As the Clone Wars erupted, Anakin returned to battle wearing two faces, the Jedi warrior and the secret husband, each role pulling him in different directions. His loyalty divided, his soul increasingly conflicted. He was hailed as a hero. He led clone battalions across star systems. He became known for bold victories and unmatched combat skill. He even took a Padawan, Ahsoka Tano, a gifted young Jedi who would become like a sister to him. But even as he earned glory on the battlefield, the darkness inside him deepened. The rage he used to fight enemies began to feel familiar, even comfortable. And all the while, Chancellor Palpatine continued to whisper in his ear. He called Anakin my boy, spoke of how limited the Jedi were, how they feared Anakin's power, how they would never allow him to reach his full potential. Anakin began to believe it. He felt it in council meetings, where he was lectured or distrusted. He saw it in Obi-Wan's eyes, where brotherhood sometimes felt like judgment. And though he still revered the Jedi Order, a seed of doubt had been planted. His future was becoming clear, but it wasn't light, and it wasn't peace. It was a storm, and Anakin Skywalker, hero of the Republic, the Chosen One, was standing at its center. Chapter 3: The Fall of the Hero. The Clone Wars raged across the galaxy, and with every battle, Anakin Skywalker's name grew louder. General Skywalker, the hero with no fear. To the soldiers he led, he was a symbol of courage. To the people of the Republic, he was a myth in the making. And yet, inside, Anakin was at war with himself. There was a secret that no one in the Jedi Order knew. Padmé Amidala, Senator of Naboo, was his wife. Their love had survived the war, hidden behind stolen glances, short visits, and encoded messages. They had carved out a private world amidst chaos, a fragile, flickering sanctuary. And then she told him she was pregnant. In another life, this would have been joy. But for Anakin, it brought terror. Excitement was there, yes, but overwhelmed by fear. Fear that the Jedi would find out. Fear of what would happen to Padme. Fear that he would lose everything. And then, the dreams returned. He saw Padme dying, in childbirth, screaming, reaching for him, and he was powerless to stop it. The visions were vivid, suffocating, just as they had been with his mother. The last time he ignored a dream, she died. He would not let it happen again. But there was no one he could turn to. Not truly. The Jedi would not understand. Obi-Wan, though loyal, had always preached detachment. The Council would see his fear as weakness, his attachment as failure. So he turned to the only man who had always listened, always supported him, Chancellor Palpatine. Palpatine's office had become a second temple for Anakin. There, he felt heard, understood, empowered. Palpatine never chastised him for his emotions. He fed them, nurtured them. Anakin confessed his nightmares, his desperation to save Padme, and Palpatine offered a whisper, a dangerous idea. That the dark side of the Force could prevent death. That there was a power the Jedi feared, but the Sith had embraced. The legend of Darth Plagueis, the Wise. He told Anakin the story of a Sith Lord so powerful, he could manipulate the midichlorians to create life and stop those he loved from dying. It was not just a myth, it was bait. The idea took root. If this power existed, he had to find it, had to learn it. Because if the Jedi could not save Padme, the Sith might. But the conflict within him only deepened. The Jedi Council had grown suspicious of Palpatine's influence. When the Chancellor appointed Anakin as his personal representative on the Council, the Jedi accepted, but denied him the rank of Master. It was a public humiliation. No Jedi had ever been placed on the Council without being granted the title. And to Anakin, it was more than a slight. It was betrayal. Proof that they never truly trusted him. That despite his years of service, his victories, his sacrifices, they still saw the slave from Tatooine. The Council then added insult to injury. They asked Anakin to do something unthinkable, to spy on Palpatine, to violate the very bond of trust they had criticized. They wanted him to betray the man he saw as a mentor. He was being pulled in opposite directions, between two codes, two orders, two father figures. And through it all, Padme grew more distant, more afraid. The war had changed everything. She was seeing the cracks in the Republic, in the Jedi, and now in her husband. She spoke of peace, of diplomacy, but Anakin was consumed by conflict. The galaxy needed strength, order, power to crush the separatists, to end the war, to save lives. And in his mind, the Jedi were no longer capable of doing that. Worse, they were planning to remove Palpatine from office, through force, if necessary. To Anakin, this was treason. The very guardians of democracy were plotting a coup. And in Palpatine's words, the Jedi were not peacekeepers. They were the enemies of peace. And then the mask dropped. Palpatine revealed the truth. He was the Sith Lord, the very power Anakin had been trained to destroy, sitting at the heart of the Republic. It should have ended there, lightsaber drawn, arrest made, a clean line between good and evil. But it didn't, because Anakin didn't attack. He hesitated. Palpatine had shown him a vision of power, not for domination, but for salvation. The ability to cheat death, to save Padme, and in that moment, Anakin was no longer sure the Jedi were righteous. He didn't trust them. He didn't trust himself. He turned Palpatine in. But even as he did, doubt gnawed at his resolve. When the Jedi came to arrest the Chancellor, led by Mace Windu, Anakin followed behind, watching, listening, and as the blades clashed, as lightning screamed across the Chancellor's office, Anakin faced the moment that would define him forever. Mace had Palpatine beaten, lightsaber at his throat, one swing away from ending the Sith, one swing from balance, and Anakin intervened. He drew his saber, and in one motion, he severed Mace Windu's hand. The Chancellor unleashed a final blast of lightning, hurling the Jedi Master through the window and into the void. Anakin fell to his knees, breathing heavily, shaking, broken. He had crossed the line. He begged Palpatine, no, Sidious, for the knowledge he had promised. He did not want power for its own sake. He wanted to save Padme. That was his justification, his excuse, his hope. In that moment, Sidious gave him a new name, Darth Vader. It was done. The temple burned that night. Jedi were cut down where they stood. Younglings, masters, archivists. Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, entered the temple as a Jedi and became something else. Obi-Wan would later describe what he saw with horror. But Padme, she could not believe it. Anakin tried to explain. He told her he had done it for them, for peace, for the galaxy. He would end the war, take the Republic into his own hands, and rule with her at his side. But she saw what he had become. In her eyes, he had lost himself. And when Obi-Wan stepped off her ship on Mustafar, the truth shattered what little remained of Anakin's hope. He felt it as betrayal. Padme had brought Obi-Wan to kill him. His pain turned to rage, his love to hate. He force-choked her, the woman he had sworn to save. And then he fought his brother. The duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan was not just a lightsaber battle. It was the collapse of an entire ideology. It was two worldviews, two lives crashing into one another, teacher versus student, friend versus friend. And in the end, Anakin lost, left burning on the banks of Mustafar, his body shattered, his limbs gone, his face scarred. Obi-Wan walked away, tears in his eyes. You were the chosen one. You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness. Anakin screamed his name as the fire consumed him. And somewhere, miles away, Padme died in childbirth. Not from injury, but from heartbreak. But their children, Luke and Leia, survived. And Sidious kept his promise in the cruelest way imaginable. He saved Anakin's life, but only what was left of him. The man who once dreamed of freeing slaves, of becoming a Jedi, of saving the woman he loved, was gone. All that remained was Vader, encased in black armor, his breath mechanical, his identity lost to myth and terror. The galaxy would remember Darth Vader, but the boy from Tatooine, the chosen one, he was now a ghost. Chapter 4: The Rise and Redemption of Darth Vader. The galaxy knew him only as Darth Vader, the man in black, the Emperor's enforcer, a walking shadow who crushed rebellion with his fists, slaughtered Jedi survivors, and ruled the stars with fear. His breath became the sound of death, his presence, the silence before execution. But beneath the armor, the fire still burned. He had become what he once swore to destroy. Yet the pain remained, a constant, gnawing presence in the Force. The screams of the younglings, the sound of Obi-Wan's voice, Padmé's final breath. He had power beyond imagination, and yet no peace. Vader obeyed Sidious without question. For years, he was a tool, used to destroy remnants of the Jedi Order, to enforce the will of the Empire, to keep the galaxy beneath a dark shroud. But Palpatine never saw him as an equal, only a pawn, a broken vessel of what once could have been. He had believed his choice would save Padme. Instead, it killed her. He had believed the dark side would bring clarity. Instead, it chained him to grief. And yet, in this void, a glimmer of light appeared, one he never expected. His name was Luke Skywalker, the son he never knew he had. Luke was the spark, the unexpected variable, born in secret, hidden from both Sith and Jedi, and raised on the same sands of Tatooine that once burned under Anakin's feet. As the rebellion grew in strength, so did whispers of a new hope. X-Wing pilot who destroyed the Death Star with a single shot. Vader felt it the moment they crossed paths. Disturbance in the Force, a connection he couldn't explain. But Sidious knew. He saw Luke as a threat. Vader saw him as something else. Possibility. When Vader learned the truth, that Luke was his son, the cold shell cracked. He became obsessed with finding him, not just to destroy the rebellion, but to bring the boy to his side, to rule together, father and son. Because maybe, just maybe, through Luke, the pain could end. Through Luke, the Skywalker legacy could be reborn. Their first duel was raw. Luke was inexperienced, emotional. Vader was in control, both physically and psychologically. He didn't just fight Luke. He tested him, pushed him, taunted him. And then came the moment that changed everything. Vader didn't kill him. He revealed the truth. I am your father. Those words didn't just shake Luke. They shattered the illusion of the Jedi's past. Obi-Wan had lied. Yoda had hidden the truth. Luke's destiny was forever tied to the man he hated, and the man he might one day become. Vader didn't ask for forgiveness. He asked for allegiance, to overthrow the Emperor together, to rule the galaxy as a family. But Luke refused. He would rather die than become Vader. And in that moment, the dark side lost its grip just a little. Luke escaped, but Vader was no longer the same. A quiet war had begun inside him. The ghost of Anakin stirred beneath the mask, uncertain and aching. The thought of Padme, the face of his son, it was all there, buried beneath layers of ash and regret. The Emperor, sensing this shift, demanded Luke's destruction. But when Luke returned, stronger, calmer, a Jedi in truth, he didn't come to destroy Vader, he came to save him. Luke believed there was still good in his father, not the Sith Lord, the man, Anakin. Vader tried to bury that hope with fury. He told himself it was too late, that Anakin Skywalker was dead, that redemption was for the weak. But Luke held firm. "You've failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me." And that word, father, broke the chains. When Sidious unleashed his full power upon Luke, when the lightning lit up the throne room, and the boy cried out in pain, Vader faced the final choice. Let his son die, or become the man he was born to be. He chose. With the last of his strength, Vader lifted the Emperor and hurled him into the abyss. And with that act, Darth Sidious was destroyed. But so was Vader. Mortally wounded by the Emperor's lightning, he collapsed. The mask, the armor, they could no longer sustain him. Luke dragged him to safety, removed the helmet, and for the first time in decades, Anakin Skywalker looked at the world with his own eyes, pale, burned, scarred beyond recognition. But there was peace in him. Now, go, my son. Leave me! Luke begged him to fight, to survive. But Anakin knew his time had come. But his soul, after all the pain, the failure, the betrayal, was free. Tell your sister, you were right. You were right about me. In those final seconds, Anakin Skywalker returned, the chosen one, the boy who loved his mother, the man who loved Padme, the father who found redemption through his son. He died, not as Vader, but as Anakin, and in doing so, he fulfilled the ancient prophecy. He brought balance to the Force, not through power, but through choice, through sacrifice, through love. The galaxy would remember Darth Vader as a monster, but those who truly knew remembered the man beneath the mask. Chapter 5: Legacy of the Chosen One. Anakin Skywalker's story is not one of light or darkness alone. It is the story of a life torn between both, a prophecy misinterpreted, a hero broken, a father redeemed. From the moment of his birth, Anakin's life was touched by mystery. No father, born of the Force, a child prophesied to bring balance, and yet destined to walk the line between salvation and ruin. The Jedi saw him as their great hope, but they never understood the cost. He was raised in fear, taught to suppress love, and surrounded by warriors who preached peace but fought in war. He was powerful, too powerful, and power without grounding became his prison. Anakin's heart was never truly in the temple. It was with his mother, with Padme, with the people he cared about. He loved deeply. That love was his strength, and the very thing the Jedi taught him to reject. Stop. And so, when he lost his mother, it shattered him. When he dreamt of losing Padme, it terrified him. And when he was offered the power to stop death itself, he took it. His fall wasn't sudden. It wasn't just about politics, or betrayal, or rage. It was about fear, a fear so human, so universal, that he would lose those he loved, that he was powerless to stop it. And so the Jedi Knight became a Sith Lord, Darth Vader, enforcer of the Empire, killer of the Jedi. But no matter how deep into the dark he sank, the light never truly left him. Not when he looked at his son for the first time. Not when he heard his name, Anakin, spoken with hope. Not when he saw, through Luke, the person he once wanted to be. Because at the heart of Anakin's story isn't just power. It isn't prophecy. It's legacy. It's the legacy of a boy who wanted to do good, who was failed by a broken system, and who, in the end, chose to rise again, not as Vader, but as a father. He destroyed the Emperor, not out of revenge, but out of love. He died not in armor, but in truth. He brought balance, not through domination, but through redemption. And that is the true meaning of the Chosen One. Not perfection, not invincibility, but the ability to choose, to fall, and to rise again. Anakin Skywalker was many things: slave, savior, warrior, villain, hero. But in the end, he was exactly what the galaxy needed. A reminder that no one is ever truly lost, and that sometimes the strongest light comes from the deepest shadow. Bonus: 5 little-known Anakin Skywalker facts. 1. Anakin was nearly denied Jedi training twice. Most fans remember the Jedi Council's hesitation when Qui-Gon brought young Anakin to Coruscant. But what's less known is that even after Obi-Wan took him as a Padawan, there was internal resistance. Yoda, Mace Windu, and others believed his future was clouded and dangerous. Anakin's rapid rise through the ranks was not met with praise. It bred suspicion. Some masters believed he was too emotionally compromised to be trained at all, and even considered removing him from the Order. If it weren't for Obi-Wan's fierce loyalty and the outbreak of the Clone Wars, Anakin may never have seen the front lines. 2. He built his own lightsaber 3 times. Anakin's lightsaber is one of the most iconic in Star Wars history. Blue-bladed, passed to Luke and eventually Rey. But it wasn't his first. As a Padawan, he built a training saber, followed by a full version, which he promptly lost during a mission. The second one he used throughout the Clone Wars and in his final days as Anakin. According to expanded lore, Anakin took meticulous care of his saber, customizing its grip and internal components. He treated it like a part of himself, which made the 4-4-Y irony all the greater when he lost it on Mustafar, his past slipping from his hand along with his humanity. 3. Palpatine had been watching Anakin since childhood. We know from Revenge of the Sith that Palpatine manipulated Anakin over many years. But according to official canon, Sidious had eyes on Anakin long before their formal meeting. After hearing whispers of a boy born of the Force, he tasked agents with monitoring the Outer Rim. 7. When Qui-Gon discovered Anakin, it wasn't a surprise. It was a confirmation. Palpatine's rise was built on long games, and Anakin's fate had been written into them, years before a lightsaber ever touched his hand. 4. Anakin was a master starfighter pilot and designed his own modifications. Obi-Wan once called flying another happy landing, but for Anakin, the cockpit was where he truly felt in control. His piloting skills were legendary, not just instinctual, but deeply technical. He could disassemble and reassemble ships, reroute systems mid-flight, and even customized his own Jedi starfighter. During the Clone Wars, he created experimental modifications that pushed speed and maneuverability far beyond standard protocol. Many clone pilots claimed they only survived certain missions because they followed Anakin's lead, even when it defied orders. 5. He was still the chosen one, even after becoming Darth Vader. There's a common misconception that Anakin failed to fulfill the prophecy, but according to George Lucas and official canon, Anakin did bring balance to the Force, just not in the way anyone expected. By killing the Emperor and sacrificing himself, he destroyed the Sith and brought temporary balance. Luke may have helped him see the truth, but it was Anakin who made the final choice. In the end, the Chosen One prophecy was never about being perfect. It was about choosing the light when it mattered most. And in that choice, he fulfilled his destiny. And so, the story of Anakin Skywalker comes to a close. From a slave on a forgotten desert world, to the savior of the galaxy, to its darkest shadow, and finally, to its redeemed light. His journey was not a straight line. It was broken, tragic, beautiful, and real. He was not the perfect Jedi. He was not the perfect man. But he was proof that even the greatest fall doesn't have to be the end, because redemption is never out of reach. If you made it this far, thank you. You've traveled across decades of lore, tragedy, and triumph with us, and we hope this story meant as much to you as it has to generations of fans. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and share it with a fellow Star Wars fan who needs a reminder that no one is ever truly lost. Got a favorite moment from Anakin's life? A theory? Or a piece of Star Wars lore you think we should cover next? Let us know in the comments. We read everyone. And if you want more deep dives, character breakdowns, and full lore explorations from the galaxy far, far away, hit subscribe and ring that bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, may the Force be with you. Always.